Hello, my Backgammon friends. Welcome to our Backgammon live stream number 87. And today we have a very special stream because we have a very special guest. Backgammon Grandmaster and UBC 2021 finalist Dirk Schiemann. Welcome, Dirk.
Good to be here again. Glad to be at home now after all these trips, and I'm really glad now that I can talk freely. So let's do it.
Yeah, it's very good to have you here, and we planned to do some question and hopefully some very good answers, and also we want to go through some positions of the match, and of course our viewers can also ask some question and we try to answer them as well.
Yeah, but before we get started, I want to get one thing straight. Because people think that the UBC Final 21 is over, but actually that's not true. There is still one match missing, and I'm happy to announce the UBC 21 commentators final between Mark Olsen and Nick Blasier. That is still about to be to come, and commentators will be Mochy and myself, and I can promise you it will be an interesting match and certainly fun to watch, at least I hope. And so stay tuned. I think the Galaxy people should announce it soon. And so we have one more match to go to see who wins the commentator's crown.
So this will be out this year still, or?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it should be a matter of I think they will do it before Christmas, but that is up to the Galaxy people. And so I don't know when it exactly will be, but for sure they will announce it in time to just so that you can tune in.
Okay, so that's really good news that we get some
yeah,
bonus.
For me especially, it was so much more fun commentating with Mochy than playing against him, to be honest.
Especially against this beast this time. So
but no, it was okay.
So it's really rough to play against him if he plays good, but he played very well. But this time he also rolled like a monster. So it was really so. In the one interview, you mentioned that that he won the last 6 matches in a row, which would be the same thing as playing a 64 field against 63 Dirks, and he did beat them all.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a great performance by him. I mean, all the credit to him. Okay, rolling well. I mean, that's, of course, he has no influence on it, but he also played his roles extremely well.
Yeah.
So congrats to him again for this outstanding performance. I think never happened again over so many matches. So, so really great performance.
Yeah. Okay, then let's start with some questions, and I think we will do 2 or 3 questions and then a position, and so we will go through this stream, and we will take a look at the chat, and if you have additional questions, we will try to implement them in this stream. So the first question, you already mentioned it. The problem was that the finals was played a few weeks ago, and then there was some post-production of the videos, and then they were aired, and until the very end you were, of course, Mochy and you were not allowed to speak about what happened and the results. So how was it for you that you I would imagine that it was even harder for Mochy because he was, as a winner, you cannot, it's so hard to suppress your smile. But even for you, I guess it was not so easy.
I think actually it's the other way around, because the most difficult thing for me was like, I mean, I knew it went as bad as you can imagine, and then you have all the people like cheering you up and telling you, "Oh, I'm so excited to watch it. Only 3 days left. I'm sure you will be doing great." All that stuff, and you say, yeah, thank you, smiley. And I think it's worse if you have done not so well, because when people try to really express the excitement about the contest and this will be epic and whatever, and you, so that is, I think actually for me it was more difficult, but who knows? I have to ask him how difficult it was for him.
Yeah. So our viewer LA Michael also said he was suffering with you, and I can only agree with him. So we had here for every match we had here a little Zoom party with several friends, and we were of course rooting for you, and it was really hard, and especially for me. The other guys did not believe how depressed I was, and I think it was a little bit of punishment because of my whole life. I was making fun of people, of soccer fans, for example. I have no clue about soccer, and don't care at all. And it was always fun to me when they said, "Oh, my team or my country lost," and I said, "I don't care." But this time they got me because I was really emotionally involved, and I was really suffering with you when everything you tried just didn't work.
I mean, I was suffering too, but actually only on the second day I was really suffering, because it was, that day was of course the tipping point. Day two I was very happy in the end, because I could turn around the bad first match, and played better, and things were going well, so I had high hopes for day two. And day two, everything fall apart, and at some point frustration catches up with you. And day three was easier again, because then I had given up all hope, and just was in try to get into damage control mode, play some good matches, and and at least in that I succeeded. So day three, after it was over, was also not so bad. What really was tough on me was the night from day two to day three. I really felt down, but what can you do?
By the way, I got the impression that on day two you only played 3 matches.
No, day 2, 4. Day 3, day 1, 3, and then 4, and then 2.
Okay.
So day 1 finished with the match where I made the 2 points. So and then we all went out for dinner, and I was good spirit. I was in good spirits again after I butchered match 1, and so But then day 2 was really, I had a hard time, to be honest.
Yeah, but I was really impressed when I saw the interview, and your in this really difficult situation, your behavior and your statements, and you were still calm and still friendly and not any anger. So it was because it's always easy if things run smoothly to smile and be happy. But under these conditions, I was really impressed how big of a sportsman you are, and I think you earned a lot of additional sympathy points from the audience, I guess.
Yeah, but I think most of the top players in my shoes wouldn't have reacted any differently. I think so, at least. I think at that level, most people have learned to cope with their mistakes and also with the bad streaks, because otherwise it's really hard to get there. And then all these experience helps you to deal with such setbacks. So I think I'm imagining now some other people who could have been there, of course, and I think they would have reacted in a similar way. I think, at least.
I'm not so sure, but anyway.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. So our viewer Michael also wanted to know if you think if it was a typical game one syndrome that you were not already.
Yeah, maybe, but as you can see in day two, there was no game one excuse anymore. And no, I just ran in some decisions. We will talk about two of them from the first match. I think maybe we can bring them up now. What do you think? So, because then we can just illustrate. Yeah, it was a little bit of game one syndrome, especially with the drop at 2-0 down. That was the most annoying position for me of the whole contest, and I will tell you why in a minute.
Okay. So, and Terje also asked, what do you think who will be the next contender to face this monster?
There are so many candidates. I have to recite a list of possible players. There's so many. Mochy, Hideaki, Kazuki, if he feels well. So that's the Japanese. There are some more Japanese. Then you have from Denmark, Christensen, Trabold, and some others, Tenland, Wilkinson, Snarheim. It's just like, so who I didn't mention now, Ziska, Ribello. So while I'm talking, more names come to my mind. So many candidates, and it's also like if you competing, even if you are the best in the contender field, best PR player, because of the variance, maybe you have a 10-15% chance of winning it, because it's like with a match, when you are the better player, it increases your chances, but you are nowhere near a super big favorite if you play against another good player. So even the best of the contenders has only a slightly higher chance to be it than the others.
Okay, then we have, I think, before we go to the first position, we will try to answer, or you will hopefully try to answer the questions from our friend Marcus. He is asking, how was the atmosphere around the UBC? Always friendly dinner or more private? That's his first question.
Super friendly, super relaxed, great people, the Galaxy people. We often went out for dinner with a bunch of people. Not always everybody participated, but it was just like, sometimes in the evening it felt like a vacation with friends. So it was a great atmosphere. And for example, after day two, after disaster day two, I went out for dinner together with Mochy and Nick Blasier. I mean, no problem at all between us all. So it was super atmosphere was great.
So, and the second question from Marcus is if you think it would be helpful to have some secondant or trainer or coach or friend with you on your side.
I don't know if that is such a big impact because I think I now have enough experience to reflect upon myself. Of course, outside input is always welcome, but I'm also the type that when I'm in this competition situation, I need my me time where I just where I am by myself, and I also don't think analyzing the mistakes you made to what extent it helps you for the next matches, because then you get maybe even more confused. So I don't know if that is so important. In chess, it's very important because you play the opponent. You need constantly input from other people because you cannot manage all the data, and you have to be on top of the data stream, so you cannot do that by yourself. But in backgammon, it's not like in chess that you need to have a crew around you, I think.
Okay. So I just realized that I skipped a question from Amir, even though it's a question which we already have on our list for later on, but I think we can do it right now. I guess it will be quite quick. The question from Amir is if you will participate in the upcoming UBC contender tournament in Istanbul. I think it's in April.
If there's nothing that happens, I mean, I'm planning to do it simply because I really like the format. I really like the competition. And it's just be among all these great players. So it's a great atmosphere. And yeah, I hope I will be able to make it.
Okay, then I think it's about time to go through the first position. And I think it's the one where you mentioned a few minutes ago.
Yeah, and that is because I didn't have much time to prepare for this event because I had was very busy with other things, especially with the book project. So, but I played, of course, some matches, and I also made myself a list of bullet points, things I have to pay attention to, and I'm just going through that list. One of the bullet points that I read before that match was when there is any doubt, take in a prime versus prime position. So I read that like 20 minutes before this beautiful position came up. And what did I do? I completely ignored my bullet point. And that was really frustrating afterwards. I mean, this is not a super easy decision. And Mochy also was surprised that it was such a clear take. He was convinced that has to be a double, and the take wasn't clear to him. And but that is a typical case of you have your bullet points, and what are they for? For nothing, because then you go back to your old tendencies. So that is maybe match one syndrome, that you are still maybe have to struggle to adapt to the conditions or whatever, and that you are not able to have access to your own information that you just pointed out. So that was, after that match, I was so frustrated with myself that because why do you prepare if you don't use the information? Especially, I played the match against the Zizi in Cyprus, an online match that we had to play. And I did the same mistake. I passed a super clear take in a prime versus prime situation, which is why I made myself this bullet point. And you see what happens. So,
but to be honest, for me, this advice would not be of much value, because when it comes to prime versus prime, I'm always in doubt. So I would have to take everything.
No, sometimes no, I wasn't sure at all. And also, another bullet point was, when you are not sure, make the score the decisive factor in the end. So it's 5 away. I'm 7 away. He's 5 away. Lot lower take point. I can take a lot more than for money. And so then I should have used that bullet point, if not the other. So there were 2 bullet points on my list that I could have used to just stumble into the right decision. So, but I didn't.
So during the commentary, Mark Olsen presented his new idea or concept. I think it will be part of his next book, where he divided this kind of positions in different levels. So he made a difference between level 1 prime, level 2, level 3. So for example, this completed 4 5 prime would be a level 3 prime, and yours would be level 2. And if there's only one level difference, basically this is still a take, something like that.
Okay, yeah, that's a nice rule. And priming games are all about timing. So, and maybe Mochy has the stronger prime and is about to get an anchor, but I've got the better timing. I'm down in the race. So even if he makes the anchor, I have enough time to continue playing with my outfield checkers, and at some point he has to run with one checker, and I can try to build a strong prime against the remaining checker. So yeah, many ways. It's of course not very comfortable if you see you are on the ace point and you see this beautiful 5 prime, but yeah, what can I say?
So, by the way, Herbert was asking in the chat if you make this list public or if it's part of the book.
No, it's part of nothing. That stays locked up because it's just like
okay. So, is there anything you want to add to this position? Or
no, that we can. I think we have a similar one coming up.
Yeah, maybe we do this directly because it was quite interesting. So we see here that it was technically it would not be a double here, even a small no double. But of course, as we all know, for humans, this is just horrible to see here when you are behind a 5 prime, indirect 5 prime. So it's very easy to drop this. But the interesting thing was interesting to watch is that directly the game after this one, Mochy had a very similar decision, which looked like this one here. So
yeah, I can't even remember this one because I didn't make a mistake. So yeah, the double at that score was clear for me, and I think it's nice. First of all, I'm still stuck on the 24 point, so I'm not split. Okay, black structure is awkward, the stack, but it could easily become that would be a level 2 prime. If so, it's still easily possible to prime me. Timing is about okay. I mean, it's no clear favorite there. A stronger prime, of course. And for me, it was such a clear double because of the 6 hitting numbers. So you have the market losers, so you have some volatility in this position. But now the but, which is why it's a take, and Mochy did very well in taking this, despite leading in the match, is that you have the 23 point. I'm pretty sure maybe we can make an experiment. Put the 2 checkers, black's 2 checkers on the ace point, and probably it will turn into a pass at that score, because it's so much better to be anchored on the 2, because then I only can advance with my prime to the 3 point, and that's then it's I cannot go any further. And here I have much more space to extend my prime. So this, at least, I think, should be a lot worse for black. So that's actually the 23 point in this situation, in my opinion, is a big asset. Now, hopefully, yeah, you can see the difference now. So that was
wow,
the critical point here.
Okay, would not have expected that. Okay.
No, because it also is bad for my timing, because I only can go to the 3 point, and now I can roll the prime further up to the 2. So many more numbers to play. And that's just so much better for me.
Yeah.
So that's I think a very important factor in this position.
Wow. Yeah. So when I was watching this first match, what went through my head was, if from the psychological aspect, that maybe after the match you will realize, I made a big blunder, 300, and Mochy did the thing in a seemingly closer decision, he got it right. Maybe this would be an additional drawback for you, but this did not influence you in any way when I got you right.
No, I didn't. I tried the whole time only to focus on myself, and so what good plays or bad plays he made at the time, I just basically ignored. It just doesn't make any sense to think about what the opponent does. It's me who I have to be. Yeah, I have to adjust my game, and it's if he plays well or not so well is out of my hands. So no, that wasn't a factor for me actually.
Okay, then I think we can go through a few more questions. One was what is your personal opinion regarding decision hunting? We all know there is a thing that, for example, that you stay back with your last checker in opponent's home board, that you can run out when he's threatening to bear all off, so that you get a decision. And you guys agreed for this tournament or for this final that you will not go for extra decisions. And so I wanted to know, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I'm also I mean, I don't like it. The problem with it is when it's Mochy against me, we can agree on a gentleman rule. But if it's a bigger tournament, it's just not possible. So you cannot enforce any gentleman rules because that's why they're called gentleman rules. You do this out of courtesy or sportsmanship. So decision hunting is not against the rules, and you are at a distinct advantage if everybody else does it and you don't. In the last UBC contender, we saw again that the PRs were so close, so 1 or 2 decisions more or less are decisive. So from a practical point of view, as long as the rating system is what it is, the way XG rates us, from a practical standpoint, you just cannot do anything about it because there's no way to enforce the players to not do it. And for sure, when I play in the contender field, I probably will have to do it. But if everybody does it, it's also not, I think it's also not such a big deal. But I would, of course, like to, if it wasn't possible.
For me, it looks like that the very top players now don't like it. But for me, as an average player and as someone that is also loving puzzles and logical puzzles, I think this adds something. So it's not. Yeah, for example, if you take a look at this position here, white has to play a 5-3. So
I mean, it's a slam dunk 10-7, 6-1, because then if you roll a 6, you get a decision. If you bring the checker in and roll a 6, then you don't get a decision. So
exactly.
You have to leave. I mean, that's also, so maybe somebody should publish a list of all these decision hunting things so that they are available to everybody. And if somebody refuses them to do, okay, so be it. But I studied this a little bit as well, because it would be really bad if you don't qualify for the next round in a contender because you don't know these things.
Yeah. And it seems to me that not running with the last checker to avoid the backgammon until the very last moment is quite common sense today.
The
PR players.
These ones, I think some players don't know about.
Yeah,
you have to play 10-7,
like this one. And I would be interested if there are more of that. So just as a side event. So I think it's quite interesting.
It's like a puzzle. But this one I used over and over. I used already. So yeah, I had once. There are some other situations that come. This comes up rather frequently, but there are others that are so rare that you shouldn't bother about it.
But here I think one last word before we go to the more interesting stuff. But here I think many PR players might realize, no, I don't take off and just play something like enter the checker from 10 to 2 or something like that. Not realizing that this is a PR chasing blunder, because of when the opponent rolls a 2-1 and you roll a 6, then you get no decision. Okay, anyway, let's go. I think I am the lonesome freak who finds this cool.
No, I mean, it's really important. If you do these PR contests, you should know about it. I mean, that's part of participating or getting better in these contests, to know about these things.
Okay, just when I saw the question in the chat, our German president, not the Germany president, but the president of the German Backgammon Federation, Dirk Schiemann, is asking, Dirk, what do you think about the VBIF win and skill rule, where you get the full PR point only if the difference in PR is at least 1, otherwise it's divided proportionally? This seems even fairer to me.
Yeah, I mean, everything is fair in a sense. There's no unfair rule because it counts for both. So everything is fair. The only difference between the different systems is the luck factor, and the variance. Of course, if you do that, what they use in this win and skill rule, then you have lower variance, and the weaker player has a much harder time to beat the stronger player in a contest over many matches. So it would take out a little bit of the variance, but all rules that treat both players equally are fair, in my opinion. It's also fair to not include the PR at all. That's also fair. Then it's just who wins the match. So,
but if we start doing win and skill tournaments, the purpose is that the stronger player has the advantage. So this is going one more step, one step further.
But then you could also say no matter who wins the match, the better PR wins. So there are different steps that you can take. I'm a little bit torn because, of course, the Galaxy rule is like very swingy on close matches. Like, for example, I see match 9 here. That's difference is very small. There were others. Of course. The good thing about it is simplicity, because remember, we want to get more people to the community. These UBC events, I think they are production-wise, they are the best events that Backgammon has right now, and they attract many new players. And it's already difficult for a new player to understand what PR exactly is and how it works. And the more complicated you make it, the fewer people that are new to all this will understand it. So, I mean, I'm really torn. I think I like the win and skill rule from WBIF better personally, but I can understand that you want to have something simple and not something when you have player A is leading player B by 3.57 to 2.41 or something, 4.3 or something. So that's very difficult to understand for somebody who is not into all this.
Yeah. And you are not aware of any changes in Backgammon Galaxy UBC format? They will stay like that, as all we know.
As far as I know,
Yeah.
it'll stay like that, but I'm
Okay.
not the right person to ask.
Okay, then Terje Pedersen, the guy from Heroes, asks, Backgammon is rather small compared to other mind sports, especially compared to chess. What are your suggestions for growing the popularity of the game?
Yeah, my suggestions. Yeah, I think we are on a good path. I think in the question, it already comes out. The word mind sports sticks out for me because backgammon is still not recognized as a mind sport. And I think Bernhard Meyer and others are working hard to get backgammon recognized. That's for sure important because I think to attract more people, you have to create more media attention, all that stuff. And you need money. I mean, without sponsors and like all the other mind sports, they rely on sponsors. So, like what you are doing with your server and your database, the Galaxy people, we need more of those for, of course, but we would also need sponsors. But I think right now we are on a good path, and of course we have to find ways to attract younger players. And I think all the different federations are trying to work on that, or club structures. I think it's very important for backgammon that it goes local, so that it's that there are many places where people can play. Because when people see other people playing and having fun, that attracts more people. So when the COVID situation is a little bit better, it would be really important for the game to have more places where people meet each other to play live and all this stuff. So it has to grow from the bottom up, I think.
Yeah. Okay, then, Dirk, let's continue with our questions. The next one is here. You seemed as always very calm and controlled despite the dice and PR misfortune. What is your secret?
I think I don't secret. It's first of all, maybe I seemed calm, but on day two I was also really frustrated. And maybe it didn't. I'm not not the extrovert type where you really notice it, but I was a little bit frustrated. But on the other hand, I try to train myself always look forward, because I'm really a firm believer that thinking about what happened is only a waste of mental energy. And so I really try to just take on the next position, the next match. And of course, it doesn't work out 100%. There's always these thoughts, you donkey, why did you do that? And especially after this first match and this ignoring my bullet points. But yeah, I try to just, as good as I can, to ignore it. And usually on the next day, I'm already a lot better. Then I have digested everything, and so and in between matches, I just try to focus on the next task ahead.
Okay, so I think the next question is a little bit like the one that Markus asked before, where we wanted to know, because we all know that, for example, Mochy had Michy as a close friend that were also at the venue. And have you been alone there, or did you have some personal friends with you?
I was alone there, but I didn't feel alone.
Okay.
With the Galaxy people, with Michy, so with all the events that we did, and with our Turkish friends, that they were just great. Again, big thank you to our Turkish host that took us to the stadium, on a cruise on the Bosporus, and so I was there by myself, but I didn't feel alone at all. It was very friendly atmosphere, and so it was very nice. So.
Okay, then let's go to the next position, I would suggest. And there was this one, this double aces, I remember.
Yeah, let's go straight to one of the, for me, it was interesting because, I mean, it wasn't on the bullet points, but it was on my list of how to approach prime versus prime positions. And again, I fell into the trap and did my my mistake because there are two ways basically to win a priming battle. There is what I call the active way. You try to get to the edge of the prime and escape it, hopefully. That's one way of winning a priming battle. The other way of winning a priming battle is try that the opponent's prime crumbles first, and then you have an easy way out. So that's the passive way, I would call it. Just let the opponent crumble. And one of my biases on my list, not on that bullet point list, but I'm well aware of, is I'm choosing the active way too often in the priming battle, not the passive way of letting the opponent crumble, which I also find in my students is the general tendency, just because it feels just like better to do something. And this is a perfect example. So it's usually right to, when you can get to the edge of the prime, you can hit the checker, the slotted checker. It's almost always right. But in this case, I should have seen that this is an exception here because I am winning the timing battle by such a big margin that just the 5 point, which is also a rule, another rule, when you have the 8 and the 4, the 5 point is so strong. So I should have seen that, of course, but again, I fell into the trap of my own tendencies, and I have it written down somewhere. And yeah, what can you do?
So it looks like if you're advancing to the 23 point that you are doing two things at once, huh? That you're hitting and advancing, and the 5 point is only one thing. Maybe this is something which misleads.
But actually for black, the third checker back is not bad at all. It helps to construct an anchor, and again, white's position is super stripped, very unflexible, the front position. So there are almost no rolls that make a good point for white. So I hit, and so black enters, so what? Almost no roll makes another important point. So, and I have just this, by this double aces rule, this great opportunity to make the best point on the board for me. And yeah, that's why the mistake is so big. Afterwards I realized, I'm not so sure about that play after the game continued, but yeah, I was still surprised that it's such a giga blunder.
And so you moved making the 5 point first. Was this because this was your first instinct, or was it you just wanted to look at the alternative and you already were in love with making the 23 anchor?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I can't remember. I can't even remember which I did first. I remember that I thought about, of course, thought hard about the two plays, and in the end, I decided I don't know. And there comes another point. So whenever, again, that's also on my list, whenever you're in doubt and you don't know what's going on, go against your tendencies. And I would have avoided this mistake if I just, I was completely unsure, and I should just have gone against my bias and make the other play then. But as you all know, I didn't.
Okay, I think that's it for this position, no?
Okay, yeah.
Then few more questions. One I have for you is, of course, I wanted to know how important was the UBC final for you compared with other big gammon events you have been in the past? Because we all know, for us, UBC is the big thing. But
yeah, for me too.
okay, but because money-wise, it's not the biggest tournament, so to speak. But still, it's on your top list because of what you can gain on popularity and
no, not even on popularity. It's the most prestigious thing, and if you win that's only for myself. What other people are saying, if people are saying yeah, nice, or that feels good too. But the feeling to get there. So I also mustn't be too harsh on myself. I should, of course, you always want more. Whenever you lose, no matter if it's the final, the semi-final, you're always disappointed. But to put things in perspective, it was great to get there. And for me, it's definitely the most important event by far, because it's such a competitive format, and because of all the reasons why people think it's so important, I think. So,
but this also shows that we are on a very good way regarding to make this game more popular, because it's more about the sport. If we go back to the 90s, for example, this would not be. Nobody would play a tournament for that reason.
You can also see that and it's normal, and I think especially the older guys are accustomed to that backgammon is not possible when there is no money involved or no real money or whatever, but that is just long gone. It's also like in other sports events, even if you playing a table tennis tournament and you have no chance of advancing to the next round, let's say, then you still play your best. You also can try to play your best backgammon if there is nothing, even if you have no chance anymore, like I did on day 3, basically. So it's just, I think in that sense, we are much closer now to this mind sports thing, but still we have to go a step further for it to be really recognized. But these are the kinds of events that could also attract sponsors, in my mind, and make the whole game bigger.
Yeah. So, I also spotted a question from Arthur Barth, very interesting one. Will there be a YouTube format for discussing your book sometime?
I wasn't thinking about the YouTube format, but I already created a group on Facebook, Theory of Backgammon. It's still private, so nobody knows about it, but it's already there. Right now, I'm just still so busy shipping books, but I will launch it very, very soon. There should be a forum where people can discuss concepts. And I also would like people to post errors, like typos or inaccuracies or whatever. And I think, it will launch soon. And I already have a post. Nobody can see it, of course, but I found already the first typo. I don't know if anybody else found it already. So that will be my first post. And I hope that there will be at some point a second edition. And then if everybody tries to spot the errors, that this second edition should be better.
But I think Arthur's question may go in a different direction. It's not about spotting your mistakes. I think it may be more about understanding the content of your book and getting some help, I guess.
yeah, that's why people should discuss and ask questions. That's the main reason. So that's why because I know that many things in the book are rather complicated, especially for not so experienced players. Yeah, that's precisely what that group is for. And there, people can discuss. And I guess I cannot do it by myself, but there are certainly other people, more experienced players who understand it all. And if they help, maybe the more advanced players, experienced players, can help players who struggle. I don't know. I will launch the group soon, and I will see what happens.
Okay. And Arthur was also guessing. I think that was points in the direction of Typo. If it was the 1295 in the denominator, but Matthias is already answering that this was correct. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, and Terje had a follow-up question. Do you think the gambling aspects of the game is holding it down or keeping it attractive?
Gambling aspects, I don't know.
Do we still have them?
I don't see many gambling going on tournaments. And if somebody, if people are gambling privately, there's no problem. But compared to what was going on in the 90s, I mean, there's no gambling anymore on tournaments. At least that's how I perceive it. I mean, I saw the Wild Days and participated in them very actively. And like a high stakes tournament event, if it's a tournament event, it's not gambling, I would say. Then it's just, okay, you can have events with high entry fees and people are free to participate. For me, gambling is people sitting there, money on the table and all that stuff. That's gone. So I think there is not so much gambling anymore in this. So, and it would keep, if there were some real gambling, people shouting at each other, you owe me money or whatever, that would indeed certainly terrify any possible sponsors. I can grant that. Or like ugly scenes, of course, sponsors don't like to see that.
Okay. Before we come to the next position, you already mentioned this the visit in the football stadium, and you played a match against Mochy. At least it looked like that.
Yeah.
How was the result, or did you only make a few moves?
We didn't finish the game. That was a classic advertising shot. We played as long as the camera was on.
Okay.
We tried to play correctly, of course, but that was just for the camera. Whenever they told us we can stop now, we stopped. That was not a real match.
Okay, then let's continue with another position. So this was very interesting.
Yeah, that was really funny because I outsmarted myself. That was it seems like through the whole contest, I tried to step into every mine that was laid out for me, and that was another one. I knew that plus misevaluates holding games at that score, and plus is the referee here for us. So I thought this has to be a pass at that score for reasons that I explain in the book. I think that leads us too far to explain, but I was pretty sure that it should be a pass. I thought I win like 25%, 26%, and not 24%. That's a whole difference. So I misevaluated the position, and I also know that plus is too optimistic for my side. So the referee makes mistakes taking these positions. So, and I thought, okay, I tried to play like the referee, like plus, and not like rollout, where I basically knew that this will come out as a in the rollout as a pass. But I outsmarted myself, just changed the position slightly, and we can see this effect. Maybe you can, I think you have got something for us.
Yes.
So this is the effect that I mean. In this position, when I see plus says it's a 41 take, I know it's going to be a pass after rollout. And XG is like generally in these holding games at this score. I mean, really at this score, it's the most extreme. Is to take heavy. So it takes too much. So, and you can see it's a big difference between what XG++ thinks and the full rollout. And I knew that because I've written about it. It's in the book, like in this holding position. So, and then I thought, it's a small pass, so XG++ must be thinking it's a take. So I don't want to do any damage to my PR. So I do what plus does and not what is correct. And outsmarted myself.
So you have to be very strong to be able to make such a mistake.
Sometimes
very knowledgeable.
Knowledge can be dangerous if applied wrongly.
Okay.
So that is just in the book it's explained why XG makes this mistake, but whatever. So I tricked myself.
Okay, then. Let's see, we have some more questions. Maybe we got also a question from Philip Hein. Maybe we can do this now. So Philip wanted to know, Dirk, last minutes before a match starts, do you yourself prepare mentally? And if yes, how? So directly before the match. That was his first question.
Yeah, I do some sort of breathing routine. Actually, the preparation takes longer. I try to be just not overstuffed, but I also shouldn't have an empty stomach either. So I try to get just the right amount of food inside me, like sports people do that. And in the last couple of minutes, I do maybe some breathing exercise or go over my bullet points that I then tend to ignore. But nothing special. Just calm down and just really try not to overthink things and But nothing really. I don't have a routine like that I do that is always the same. It's not so that professional.
Okay. Then Philip had a second question, which is, when an opponent as Mochy thinks about his move, and sometimes it could take a while, do you do anything with your free time besides pip counting? And if yes, what is it? Also mental stuff?
Yeah, I sometimes just relax. I try to calm down, relax, and I mean this is also like the brain gets some time off. So I try not to think too hard. Of course, if I have enough time, I think about my game plan and all that stuff. But it depends. When I'm really mentally fresh, I'm even like getting a little bit like not bored when somebody thinks too much, but at some point I don't know what to do anymore. So then I just sit there and wait, which is also okay. But it just depends on my mental state. If I'm really tired, then I try to just recharge a little bit.
Okay, then one more question. I heard that you also visited with the others the FM production site in Istanbul. What was it there?
Yeah.
Did you get it?
Can I ask a counter question?
Sure.
Who told you that? Because we never set foot into the or at least I. So maybe the others did that without my knowledge.
Okay.
I have not the slightest idea how that Backgammon production site looks like. So
okay, so it was maybe just Nick and Mark. Maybe I thought.
Yeah, maybe for sure. I mean, they
just heard it in one of the interviews.
Yeah, okay, no, I wasn't there for sure.
Okay.
I mean, since they are working together with these people, Market has visited that site more than once, so I guess he knows how it looks like and how these nice boards all are made. Yeah, but I don't know. I wasn't there.
Okay, so we have, I think, 2 more questions from the chat. Goldpfleger asks, how do you deal with your mindset? Losses because the opponent is very lucky, streaks of bad luck, etc.
Just
ignore it.
Yeah, luck is not really an issue anymore for me because after 30 years as a professional games player, it feels like, I mean, I made my peace with that. And probably if I got very unlucky, like in the money round of a big tournament, probably then it would affect me more. But in this format, what can you do? I don't know. I haven't been in the money round recently of a big tournament, so if for sure, then it's more frustrating to be unlucky because then there is also you are affected economically by your bad luck. But in the format like the UBC format, it's really what can you do? So that doesn't affect me at all.
Okay, then we have Ami again. He has a similar question which I also had prepared. He's asking, do you keep running count during the match?
Oh no! My brain is much too small for that. It's really like. First of all, I'm not good in multitasking. Really bad at that. I have to focus on one thing and just trying to keep the count in mind. I mean, I can tell you, it happened more than once to me that I did a pip count because it was a cube action. Because I rarely do pip counts, but when it's a kind of close cube action, I do it. Then I count my pips, count the opponent pips, and by that time I already forgotten my pips again, so I have to recount my pips. So no running count. There are certainly minds that can do that. Count me out for that.
Okay. So one last question before the next position. What's your favorite Backgammon book? We all know you mentioned it a lot that you started with Paul McGreal.
Yeah,
and your own book is also not allowed, Dirk. So
that's. But it's the McGreal, of course, because it got me started and it got me hung up, and the way it is written, and that was just groundbreaking. I mean, for me, it opened up a world for me, and so it has to be Paul's book, of course. There are many other good books, also recent publications, and the Mochy books, marked books. But for me, the McGreal is still outstanding because I have really a personal connection, and also the personal connection I had with Paul. And so, there can't be no book comes even close to that.
Okay, this was
for me personally.
Yeah. Okay, then we go to the next position, which was a very interesting one.
Yeah, that one when before Mochy rolled, I thought, oh no, don't let him roll this shot leaving number, because it would be just ridiculous to just get my book position in my match, because you can see that's the same score, 13 numbers that hit and cube on your side. And so in my book position, I knew it's a monster double. So I knew it's just these 13 numbers. When you are basically assured to win, it's a super big giga blunder not to double. So, okay, with that knowledge in mind, I had to look at the position from the Mochy contest. And I thought, okay, having the ace point open has to be a lot worse. So then also what is a lot worse in the position I had against Mochy is that I get fewer follow-ups. So when I miss in the book position, when white misses, then there are many numbers that leave another shot. So in the original, there are fewer numbers. So how to balance this out? So then, since I thought it's a 300 blunder, and so I thought probably maybe it's still a small double, but I'm on the safer side PR wise to double this, because if the book position is a 300 blunder, it's correct by 300 to double. It never can be a blunder to double the one that I had against Mochy. Maybe it's a mistake, maybe it is not. So I thought PR wise, it has to be safer in the end to turn the cube. And yeah, it turned out to be a small mistake. And this is just like, give me 0.5% more winning chances, I would guess, then the double would have been correct.
Okay. Then we have another question from Terje. This is a tricky one. I don't know if you want to answer it.
Yeah, I mean, it's of course worth it in the sense, I think concept ideas are still, you have to read it the right way, I think. Of course, McGreal, Paul didn't have any rollouts, and so the positions itself, you cannot take everything for granted that he's writing, but his ideas about duplication and diversification and all these are still valid. So if you read it with the right mindset, then it's for sure worth the buy. If you can get the copy, I think it's also like, that's backgammon history. So if you have like a little bit, I know there are quite a few book collectors out there, but if you want to study the beginnings of modern backgammon, I mean, for sure, there in science, there are also older famous books that were not all the theories are valid still today, but probably they are still good reads for somebody that is working in that subject. Or I guess Sigmund Freud in part is also a little bit outdated in psychology, but still probably for somebody who studies psychology, it's worth reading him, I suppose. I don't know anything about psychology. So it's like you have to read it with the right mindset. And if you look at the positions, you can just put them in XG and check out. And maybe it's even a good training for you to think about where he went wrong when there is a position where he didn't predict the correct move. So yeah, I think it's still a recommended read, I would say.
Okay, and then another question from Amir. How many cube reference positions do you have in your mind? Are they mostly from early and late game?
Yeah, first of all, it's not many, because I have a bad memory. I'm really bad on that, like with the pip count. So I try to remember, some key early game positions for sure. So I have to focus on early game. And since I'm so bad in memorizing, and it's really fatal if you get one checker wrong in a position, I have a collection of positions that even I can remember that are very easy, and I think that they are helpful. But I think the total of positions that I know is, compared to other players, is not very big, that number. And of course, I know some rules of thumb in these positions, how many checkers off, you have the closeout and the cube action. So some rules of thumb in these end game positions. And yeah, I know that a 4-roll position is a take and a 3-roll position is a pass. So if you take them into, if that is a reference positions, I know these, but I think compared to other players, I don't know that many, but I know some.
So now I have an extra question for you, Dirk. Do you think you would be a better backgammon player if you would have a good memory, or would...
Definitely, for sure. But maybe then I would lack some other things that I may have. I actually don't really know what my strengths are, but since I'm at least somewhat competitive, so there have to be some, I suppose. Yeah, of course, I envy people, but you always envy people who have something that you desire and you don't have. So yeah, I envy people who like Ryan, who can remember like 1,000 positions. I don't know how many he can remember, but yeah, of course. I would like to have that for sure, but not in this life.
Okay. The next question is, how did you prepare for the UBC final?
Yeah, that was rather messy. I tried my best. I played against XG mostly because that was the most efficient way, because I had so many other things on my mind between Marbella and the UBC final, because I really wanted to get the book out this year, and that was a race against the clock. So many things. The draft from Marbella was still so far away from the final version. So yeah, I was so focused on the book that I did some practicing with XG, but I did hardly any live play. I once met with my friend and colleague from the national team, Marcel, to play some live matches, to simulate a little bit, but that was one evening, one afternoon we played 3 matches. That was all what I did in live matches, basically. So I tried to get some more energy in Cyprus before Istanbul, taking it slow, playing some matches, but yeah, it's okay. I think it didn't work out that well. That was, from my perspective, not a very good preparation, but it is what it is. But I won't blame it on the lack of preparation. I played enough matches, I played live matches, so it's not like I was out of it for a longer time. So I still was very much in it, but I wasn't really like a focused, very special preparation over weeks or a longer amount of time.
Okay, then maybe this also already answers my next question. If you take a look at Mochy's game or his weaknesses, there don't seem to be many, but if there is any, it maybe is his maybe suboptimal time management. Mm-hmm. And did that play a role in your preparation or in your strategy? We saw, I think, 2 times he was in a little bit of time trouble, and then the match was over. So it's
yeah. I noticed that he was in time trouble, but I didn't. I really, my strategy was focus on myself, and I had this very bad experience at the last UBC contender before Marbella, where I tried to adapt, get to a simple match or something, and it backfired in a spectacular way. And since then, I try to stay away from like playing the opponent or trying something different. What I feel that just adds another layer of complexity that you really don't want to have. So my opponent should be concerned with his or her strategy, and I concentrate on mine. Although I noticed that he was in time trouble, but I didn't prepare or didn't try to change my strategy. maybe if in a last game situation he had 1 second on the clock, I would have tried to take advantage, but it never came to that. So.
Okay, so we have another question from the chat from Goldpfleger. It's a little bit general. Dirk, what are your goals for the future with Backgammon?
So yeah, stay in competition as long as I can, improve for sure. I hope I will get some time because I really also like the analyzing part and get some time to focus on the game itself more, maybe next year, and yeah, continue and stay competitive as long as I can. Yeah, I'm really still fully motivated to go ahead, and only yeah, time will tell where that leads to. So no special plans, at least.
So, and another question from Terje. Mochy has written several books. Do you have more book material in you, or are you happy with having written the New Testament of Backgammon?
Well, what that book, The Theory of Backgammon, will be in the end is up to the readers. It's not yet decided. So let's see how that plays out. I'm happy with that book. Yeah, I think at some point it will be itching to write something else, especially since the theory of backgammon is really cube focused, and so it would be fun to write something about some checker play strategy, and it would be also fun, I think, to write something where I'm a little bit yeah, freer. I mean, just where I mean, the theory of backgammon is very rigorous. Like in the foundation part, the theory is the theory. It's like it follows from the rules of the game. So there's not much space for creativity. So in these parts, I don't feel really like the backgammon author, more like a messenger. Okay, it is what it is. This is following from the rules of the games. I cannot do anything about it. I can only tell about it and explain it to you. So not much freedom to like be creative. So for sure, it would be nice. A book project where you can just yeah, write more freely and are not so restrained by the conceptual thing. If you want to write the theory of backgammon, yeah, you have to stick to this theory basically. And so another book, yeah, I have ideas. Also like coming from my classes that I'm doing, and but there's nothing concrete yet.
Okay, well, that's good news that you have ideas and that we can maybe expect some future projects. Then we have another question from Ellie Jolly. In terms of growth for an advanced player, what is the best way to structure practice? 20% play, 80% study, or something like that. So it goes to the relation between playing and studying.
Well, playing without studying what you played is, in my opinion, close to worthless. So you should, there's nothing wrong with playing, but you should analyze all your matches, everything that you play carefully. And I really mean carefully. It's not enough to just look at the match, scroll through your errors or blunders. Aha, I should have done this. Aha, I should have done that, without further inspection. So you really should focus on trying to answer the question, why? Why was my move incorrect? And why XG wants me to do this or that. So that is what I mean by when I say careful study. If you cannot find out by yourself, ask somebody, consult, maybe post it in a forum, but you really have to try to go deeper than just browsing your mistakes, I think.
Okay, so this means that playing, if you follow this advice, is maybe 2 or 3%, huh? And the rest is
No, I
studying.
don't know. You can. I don't think so. I play the match and to study a match that took me 1 hour to play. Maybe it's another hour to analyze it, and then. Okay, then it's the third step is, which is also very important, try to find patterns in your mistakes. So what things do I do constantly wrong? Because these are, and also distinguish what are the situations that are important. For example, if I make a 50 mistake in a very early games situation that comes up all the time, that is more significant than a bigger error in a position that you have once in your life, and that rarely reoccurs in that form. So, yeah, I think, I could continue talk about studying for a lot longer, but I guess we better leave it at that.
Okay. So we have another question from Amir. He's curious to know, what did you do after coming back to Backgammon to get your PR down to G1 level in about 2 years? And Eric commented this, maybe writing a book is good preparation.
Yeah, writing a book. Okay, I came back in the end of 2017, and the book project started in the beginning of 2020. So it was not really the book. Writing a book helped me understand things, and Matthias, my then co-author, also helped me a lot in understanding things that I got wrong. So when you write a book, and especially if you have a co-author that really understands the theoretical part of the game, then you see a lot of weaknesses in your own understanding of the game. So explaining something to somebody else always helps to clarify your thought. If it's in book form or in giving somebody else a class, that's always great. But yeah, what did I do? I started some light changes here. Sorry for that. I started out with classifying my mistakes when I came back. Just what I described now. For example, the first thing in 2017, I didn't even know about XG. I came from the snowy times. Was to just group my mistakes and see where I need to study most. That was the first step. And then step by step, practicing, playing, and no special plan. I didn't make a plan or something. I started out, and first thing when I started out again, I didn't even know how far I would get. Maybe I didn't even know if I would be able to be competitive anymore. So it was all like open. So time will tell. Like time will tell now for where to I will go now. So cannot say what I will be saying in 2 years. So it's just like, so when I started out, it was just open.
Okay, then we have another comment from Paul McKenna. Dirk, regarding your analysis of the take-drop decision by XG++ and the rollout, I think it's about this holding game.
This holding game.
Are we entering a period when XG++ is not the final word?
No, it's just this is a very special type of position. And in the book, I'm explaining why XG XG++ is not able to find the right decision at that score in that type of position. So it's really an absolute exception. That's one of the few exceptions that come up reasonably often. All the other exceptions with this crazy outfield primes or whatever, some very these other stuff that you can find where XG is struggling. These are very exotic positions, and we have to keep in mind nobody knows. So who knows even if the role, what's the true equity of a position? We all assume that what XG tells us is close to the true equity, but in the end, who knows? But since that is the best we got, and it seems to be very reasonable and very consistent, so I think everybody agrees that XG's level of play has already gotten quite far, but nobody really knows what's the true equity of a position.
So when you do analyze your errors, and it's not about writing something for your book, you usually just do XG++ and don't do any rollouts.
Yeah, exactly. And since that's the best that I have, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
No, for the book I did all the rollouts, but for my personal study, it's like a matter of time that you have. So plus is fine, and I'm very confident that especially in early game situations and blitz positions, XG is really good and really close to the true equity, whatever that is in the end. Nobody knows it anyway, so why bother about it?
Oh, no. Nobody knows, and if you know, you would get killed if you answer this question, I guess.
This XG3 release, really, I cannot say anything about this. I was really happy. The only thing I can tell you that because people were like a year ago telling now it's very close to come out, and I was thinking, oh geez, please not, because now I've made all these rollouts. Book is almost finished, and then I have to do it all again. No, please not. So if it comes out now at any point, I'm fine with it. And but I was really happy that it didn't in the final stages of the draft of the manuscript.
Okay, then I guess we go on to another position, which is this one, which I personally found very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found it all very instructive, and I really am not happy that I knew it actually, and it was just like I was afraid to do it because if it's wrong, I felt I look stupid. But of course, everything is just arguing to play 30. Everything except the number of shots, and that the 5 point is the 5 point and blah blah. But here it's not surprising. It's a little bit surprising to me that such a big blunder slotting the 5 point and minimizing shots. But I think, some other positions where it was clearly correct to slot the bar and unstack the midpoint. So I'm a little bit disappointed, but that is just such a good position to learn, because you can see that the number of shots is not very often not the final criterion. And here's when you look at how the position looks like, maybe it's a good exercise for people studying the games. Count the numbers for white. If that slot survives, that leave another shot, and compare that to the numbers that leave another shot when you slot the bar and play 13-11. Basically, when you don't get hit after the best move, you are in the clear, and after having slotted the 5 point, you are not, because there are so many numbers that leave follow-up shots. So yeah, sort of disappointed that in the end I settled on the slot the 5 point minimize number of shots played.
So Mark also coined this the super stack, which cries for some extra measures or methods or approaches to unstack, or that it's even more urgent to unstack. And
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, about this one, I'm sort of disappointed, but probably also this is one of the positions that I try to remember as long as my memory allows. But I don't need to remember the exact position, just conceptualize this. So this would go into my database of reference positions for sure.
Because it's not so easy. It's quite rare that the slotting the bar is stronger than slotting the 5. We all learned that the 5 is more important than the bar. It's easy to overlook.
My takeaway wouldn't even be the slotting bar with the slotting 5, but the importance of really get rid of the, how did Mark call it, the super stacks, and just try to look beyond the immediate role and look beyond. Even if you make here, the bar is really valuable because it facilitates you getting your checkers home, because it's a safe landing spot for sixes. Sixes are your problem numbers. So once you get the bar, then you can move them from the midpoint to the bar point. And let's say you have the 5 point in this position. Imagine this position just with the 5 point main. So 6-3 leaves a shot, 6-5 leaves a shot. So you can see your problem are the sixes. So in this case, you really want to have the bar. Because it's about just coming home and not blitzing or stuff like that.
Okay, I think there's not much else to add to this position. Then Herbert has another question. Not how many positions you have in your head, but how many positions you have in your database.
I don't know. I have to check it out, but hundreds for sure. Yeah, I mean, the database is just ordered by subjects. So basically, I made this database for myself, but also for teaching. So when a student comes up, I want to know when to split to the bar and when not to. I have a whole folder of, let's say, 15 positions on that subject. So I don't know how they are in total, but they cover pretty much everything, I wouldn't say, but a lot.
Okay, then this is more like a fun question. I heard in an interview from Mochy that he was preparing by reading several books. We all know there are several books there. Stanek brought one out, and Stick brought one out. He read them all, and we also heard that he grabbed a copy of your book. So was it a mistake to give him your book before the match against you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's put it that way. If my book, the manuscript, or then the sample book that was lying around and that he took to his room, if that helped him to play such outstanding PR, then I really feel honored. I mean, that's what better advertising could it be for your book if it helped Mochy to improve. So that I think answers it. But if it helped him, I would feel honored. Then it wasn't a mistake.
So Marcel thinks it was not only a mistake; it maybe has been a blunder to give him the book.
But... I think he can manage very well without it. But if it helped him, the better for him.
So another one, what I heard several times in the commenting of Mark and Nick was that Mochy did analyze how often did specific scores appear in a 7-point match, and what he found out is that 2-0 was the most common score, except 0-0, of course, in a 7-point match. And so he did study this a little bit more deeply. What do you think about this approach of focusing more on scores that come up more often or more frequently? Or is this
I think it's a great approach. No, it's not minor at all. I mean, you can extend this to checker play. That is why you should study early game positions, because you always go through the early game, and it's nice. I mean, you should know how to treat a back game, but that's far less important because it just comes up so rarely. Yeah, you should. That's a great approach to study situations, be good in situations that occur more frequently. Definitely can recommend it to anybody. That is another thing, since we had that question before, how did I start out when I got back to the game? What I did was I invented for myself the method that I called BG7, just playing my first 7 moves, then give up the game, play the next game, first 7 moves. And so you get very quickly, you get a sample of 100 games with situations that occur frequently. So that is the fastest way, I think, to get better, on the things that, on the bread and butter stuff, I would call it.
But I was really surprised to hear that 2-0 was the most common one, because I would have guessed something like...
I couldn't have tell, but I thought maybe 1-0 or 0-1 is a close contender. But I mean, it's intuitively, it's much more... it's clear that it has to be much more likely to get through a 2-0 score than to, let's say, a 5-1 score. Because 2-0, cube is given, single game happens, I don't know what percentage of the time, but I think that's only natural that it has to be 1-0, 2-0, 1-1. It's like in football, when you bet on the game, outcome of the game, you probably won't say 5-2.
But I think there may be a slight flaw in this one, because if I remember it correctly, it was in matches XG versus XG. And then it's relatively clear, I think, because XG is so sharp in doubling and he rarely loses his market. But we want to prepare against matches against humans, so maybe we should not take it too serious here, the 2-0 score.
Yeah, I don't know. I would prepare at that level. If I play world-class players, I would assume that that there will rarely be an untimely cube, or I think I mean, one have to see how many times I missed the cube or he missed the cube, but in this preparation at this level, I wouldn't. I mean, it's only a slight difference. Maybe so. With some players, like an opponent that doubles more, a world-class opponent that doubles more aggressively and takes more aggressively than XG would, you would have more 2-0 scores actually than against XG. So yeah, I don't know. So I wouldn't go too deep into that. If Mochy's analyze that 2-0 is the most frequent score, then probably that's the one that you should study most.
Okay. And of course, as you mentioned, BG7 for playing the first 7 moves. Terje also mentioned this practice tracks we have on heroes, things like my viewers know it because I have made several streams about it, second move, third move, and so on. This is of course also a good thing to do if you study. So one more question before we come to the next position. it was kind of obvious to me when I watched the videos, and I watched them several times, and second time I was more focusing on you than on the board. It was really obvious that you have some kind of trouble with your body. You touched your neck quite frequently. It looked like you had pains, especially on the first day. Was this just an illusion, or?
No, that's 100% correct. Beginning of the year, I had something that is very familiar to tennis players. I think it's called frozen shoulder, like an inflammation of the shoulder, this part here, right here. And so at some point in the beginning of the year, I couldn't lift my arm, not even like this. This would have been impossible 8 months ago. So I still have I mean, it's a lot better now, and I almost can move the arm normally, but sometimes I get these tensions in the neck, and it's still not 100%. And yeah, so that was on that day. On some days, depending on how I sleep and in which positions, I don't know, it's worse than on other days. And at that day, it was quite bad. So just,
okay.
You well observed.
Okay, then, before we go to the next position, I have good news for you, Ilya Tadiem. Even though you missed most of the part, but it's all recorded, you can later on watch the whole show. And no, you have not missed anything, but you can still ask or post your questions here if you have any for Dirk. Then we go to the next position, which is wow.
Yeah, at first, what I want to say about this position, I had no idea. And it was a little bit of a comfort to me that Mochy was also very surprised that this is such a big double. But this is a very exotic position in my mind. This is a thing that really, yeah. Okay, yeah, I didn't know about this. And what I find interesting about this position is that you can explain very well what I call these PR variants. So that you can be lucky or unlucky sometimes. So at least in every match, I encounter positions that I don't know what the right. Really, in the end, it's just like a field thing, a mental coin flip. I have to do something. Clock is ticking. So it happens to me that I don't really. I'm very unsure about what to do. So on a lucky day, PR-wise, these are all positions where the position is borderline anyway. Then it's a position where you cannot make a PR mistake because the difference between the alternatives is small, especially with cube actions where it's a binary choice. I mean, the best thing is that can occur to you for your PR is that you only get into borderline decisions and then you never make a mistake. Great. So in this one, for example, imagine I would have danced and he would have danced as well, let's say 5 times. So each time I would have get this horrendous mistake, because for sure, that would have been fun, me dancing, him dancing, and then I double. But okay, so I wouldn't have done that. That would have been ridiculous. But as you can see, so that is just luck. So for example, I checked it out and I think I transmitted the position. Give black could have also have been that black had one more checker in already. So then we have precisely what I was telling about, but it's a borderline decision. Very difficult, still no idea what's going on. But PR-wise, I would be lucky enough that in this case it didn't matter. So that is one factor that people may overlook when they are talking about PR. There's so much variance with what kind of decisions you are faced with and how close the best choices or the reasonable choices are together. If they are very close together, you cannot make a mistake. So that's PR luck, I would call it. Mm. So yeah, that is why I think the position is interesting, or it illustrates the variance in what can happen to your PR.
I think we can directly go to the next position, which is quite connected because it's just a few moves later.
Yeah, that was another thing. So I came in. So then if I had danced and he had come in, I wouldn't have any decisions, no blunder potential. So I came in. Now he came in with 2 checkers. So any other variations, that was the worst variation for me, again, in the PR sense, because if he had danced, it would have been a clear play on. I would have found the play on, of course. I mean, at least I think I would. And if he had entered with 1 checker, probably again I wouldn't have known what to do, no idea. But again, it wouldn't have mattered. That would have been like a PR luck roll for me if he had entered with 1 checker, because then there was no way I could have made a big mistake. But I entered, he came in with 2 checkers, so there was again this blunder potential situation. So just reinforcing the point that sometimes or showing where sometimes, of course not always, variance in the PR comes from. So not the position itself, I think, but just to illustrate that idea of PR variance.
Okay. Then, a few more questions. When the last match was over, were you quite happy or relieved, or would you have liked to play on for a few more matches? What was your... Because it was a little bit rough. We see it here on the table. Mochy played won 8 matches. 6 in a row.
You're allowed to call it total destruction. No, it's... yeah. I don't know. I was... in the end, I mean, 2 matches. I mean, I would have liked, of course, for the watchers and for the Galaxy team to get some more episodes in. But for myself, I don't know. It's fun to play when you have lost already for only that long, I would say. So playing more matches without having a real chance of winning it, I don't know if I would have liked it. I was indifferent. I always want to win. I would have liked to win the 2 points, of course, but I was sort of indifferent. On the other hand, I had no chance anymore, and I would really wanted to try out the steam bath in the hotels. So I was really indifferent. And I think the solution that we found, actually, I think that was even my idea, to do this commentators match, because we had still plenty of time left, the whole afternoon, and reversing roles. I mean, that was, I think, in the end, in hindsight, probably the better way or funnier way of finishing than playing another match where it was already over.
But it's just one match, 1 7-pointer, or?
It's only one 7-pointer. That was the commentators.
Okay.
But I think it was a nice addition to the whole thing.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it, sure. So, and after all this stress, what did you do to get your forces back and to recover from this stress?
I mean, I didn't need a long time. I was very happy to see my family again, and that is already helpful to be at home again and be with my family. So then the rest just goes by itself. Do some sports and just think about other things. I mean, I didn't know. I didn't do anything special. The only thing that was still stressing me was this not being able to talk and all that. So it was just, I would have much preferred to have these episodes right after, so I can just mentally file it away. So now that it's the final episode has been shown, so I can now just move on. So while it wasn't transmitted, it was like still lingering, and people were still cheering for me, and yeah. So that was. So I couldn't let go. I mean, I wanted to just do my analysis of the matches and be done with it, which finally I can do now. And
Okay. My next question would be, what did you learn from the UBC final?
What did I learn? I didn't know that. I mean, I had a long streak of playing one match subpar, really bad, but so many. So I was. I learned that this variance, the PR variance, is even bigger than I thought. I think, I learned about my leaks. I mean, always after any series of matches, you get to know yourself better, and what in the for your backgammon career, of course, it's especially important to know your biases, leaks, tendencies, or whatever. So that helped me in that aspect. It helped me, and it taught me that there's still much left to do, but that I knew before, so that's actually not really. It reinforced what I already knew, basically, in that sense.
Okay, then another question. If you could jump back in time to after winning the contender tournament in Marbella, what would you do different, or what to maybe get to a different outcome in the final, or change something in preparation?
Yeah, actually hard to tell. I once for a short while I was regretting to have agreed to playing it in November, where I knew that I would be still busy with other things. But then now I'm busy too. So it would have been like probably I'm not so busy in February, March anymore, but it would have been impossible either. So people wanted that final to happen. So no, in the end, there was nothing to do about this timing of this event. And so I don't see what I could have done differently. So really in a significant way, let's say. I mean, I had to finish the book, so that was a top priority. And of course, I tried to prepare as good as I can, and maybe it wasn't enough, but but any big mistakes in the time between Marbella, preparation wise, I don't know. I don't see them. Maybe somebody can tell.
Okay, before we come to the next position, one more question from Amir. Do you think 4 matches a day for the final is fine? I mean, did you feel tired?
I mean, the schedule was, I felt tired, but maybe for other reasons, not because the schedule was too tight. The contender was a lot more matches, and I played well. So saying that it was too many matches would be a cheap excuse. No, 4 matches a day is perfectly manageable, I think. So that's fine.
Okay. Then come to the next position, which is this 5-1 to play.
Yeah, that's another classic out. I think maybe that's even in the bullet points. Like I have a bullet point, like when you were ahead in the race, or jump good primes and just get out with that checker. and try to outsmart myself again. I didn't try to outsmart myself, of course, but that was a play I made against my instincts, and on a good day, I think I get this right. So that's a typical example of another thing that I think I know, and at that point in space time, I just wasn't able to access. I mean, many experts will tell you that when you're ahead of the race and you can step out with the last checker, just do it, and it can't be that bad. And yeah, I violated that for whatever reason. I know at the time, I thought, okay, his priming potential is not that great, and if I step out there and get hit, he hits me and has the 5' slotted, so I don't want to give him that. I have more time still to roll a 6x for a better escape, but of course 13-7 is really just very awkward, basically killing another checker and inviting future troubles on 5s maybe, so it's just bad.
And there is even a name for this kind of move, and as my viewers know, most of you viewers know that Mochy has coined a lot of terms like breaking the mountain, butterfly anchor, and so on and so on. But here in Germany, we also have a very creative guy, a good friend of mine, Thorsten Lux, and he coined this the kamikaze. Yeah. So when you run out to the bar point to a double shot just because you are ahead in the race, and it looks dangerous, but it's the thing you have to do.
Yeah, especially if you look at the upside. I mean, 1/3 of the time you get missed, and then you have a great game. And even if you go through the hitting numbers, there maybe not all of them are that great. I can see a 6-5, for example, which hits you, but it's not the best of hits. And yeah, you're running out of time to escape with that checker. I mean, time you are far ahead in the race. Now, after 13-7, the midpoint is stripped. So if you cannot run out, you really get a problem on 5s. Where to play your 5s because they don't run out, and on other numbers as well, maybe. So
and you cannot hope for a safe escape for a 6-5. What you're hoping is that you get only a single shot, but that's
exactly. So this is maybe not as good as it gets, but it's a chance to just get that to solve that last problem in your position, namely getting that checker home. And then if you succeed, you also are in a good position to get to efficient doubles. Then you are in really good shape, and so why not try it?
Okay, then we have another question from a viewer, from Victor Weinblatt. Throughout the matches, Mochy was clearly the luckier roller. PRs aside, it was clearly frustrating. Thoughts on handling the luck factor in BG in general? I think we already did it with the PR, but
thoughts on the luck factor. Try to ignore it. It just doesn't help you. I'm repeating myself, I know, but I think this is really important. Being concerned about luck costs mental energy, and so the better you can ignore it and just focus on your moves, the better you will be doing it. It only hurts you to think about it, because it takes away part of your mental energy, brain capacity, for no reason at all, because it simply doesn't help you to think about it. So I would, the better you can exclude the luck factor from your thoughts, the better you will be doing, I think.
Okay, then before we come to the final position, a few more questions. I think we had this from the viewers already regarding pip count. But my question was, we all know that XG taught us, or the bots in general, that even small changes in the pip count or being a little amount ahead or behind influences the checker plays. So if you are not doing a running count, do you just have such a good feeling or sense if you're slightly ahead, or how do you handle this if you don't want to count for checker plays? How do you handle that?
Yeah, I make the relative pip count. I mentally equalize the position in my head. So maybe it takes too much time to explain it now, but there's this method where you just mentally equalize the position, and like if it takes you to move in the end 8 pips more than your opponent to get to a completely symmetric position with pip count 0, then you are down. Then you're down 8 pips in the race. So I make this. That I make very frequently, and that is fortunately at least that I can do. So my brain is capable of that, and rather quickly. So since I don't need to know if the pip count, don't need to know whether the pip count is 120 to 128 or 100 to 108. What I need to know is that I'm up 8 pips. So I do this relative thing.
Have you any experience with this half crossover count, which I tried recently to practice?
No, I heard it's really great, but since after the UBC final, I haven't time to practice any backgammon. So right now I'm a little bit rusty regarding practice, to be honest.
Okay. Then some question regarding your book. So many users ask for German edition. Then here the question if there's something in the planning, and also some asked for PDF version. Is there something you have in the pipeline there?
PDF, I mean, I'm old style. I really like the physical books. I don't read ebooks myself, and it was really very important for me to get to make it a nice book, like good paper, one that you feel. I like books, so I really love to open a book that is well designed and like heavy, and So in that sense, so a PDF edition, I don't see that coming very soon. German edition, that will depend on interest. I'm intending to start like a crowdfunding, or I don't know, there's this Kickstarter thing where people can just show their interest basically, and if there's a critical mass of interest for German edition, then I will do that, but that depends. That has to be worked out. Tomorrow, actually, I'm meeting with a good friend of mine who wants me to support with the technical aspects of starting such a crowdfunding thing. And let's see if there is a critical mass of players. I don't know, let's say 200 that commit to buying a German edition, then I think I see myself capable of translating my English to German for sure. So then it's going to happen at some point next year, but that depends on interest.
Okay. Then I think we come to the final position we have prepared, and this is another one that Thorsten created a very nice term for it, but unfortunately it's only funny in German because he coined it bar 6, which means so in German the number 6 is spelled or sounds equally to sex, SE. X, so it's a little bit ambiguous. And but what is meant is here. What is meant is that you are on the bar and you are entering, but the other one is a 6, and there you often has interesting checker plays. You usually can jump out,
and
slot.
This is one where I went with my rule of thumb, and that led me astray, because a very good guideline is when you're down in the race, before you just jump with, and you have more than one checker back, and you're down in the race, before you jump out in the outfield mindlessly, so to speak, exhaust all other constructive options, because it's so often wrong to just jump into the outfield.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, are we still on the stream? Because I cannot
I hope
see
that
I cannot see the position anymore, unfortunately.
Give me a second, please.
Yeah. So, but I can remember it. So if people can hear me, I can also continue talking without seeing anything.
The stream is back.
Stream is back.
Your video already. I will share my screen. Just give me a second to get this all back. The viewers say it's working again. That's good.
Okay, so if I don't see it, never mind. I can still remember. Okay, something. Okay, here we are. Yeah, sorry guys, back again. Great. So I have this rule of thumb, but this time I really failed to see the exception. I remember I even played this fairly quickly, because so I made the big mistake with a big amount of confidence, really bad. So I certainly will this will go into the database as well. And what I also failed to consider is, of course, the score. I mean, this splitting and slotting play that I chose clearly should increase the opponent's gammon wins, should lose more gammons, and this score where I'm 3 away and my opponent is 4 away, the last thing I want to do is increasing my opponent's gammon rate at the 4-away score, because for sure, I mean, that score, this has to be a double already. I don't know, probably he doubled and I took, or something like that. So I really don't want to increase the opponent's gammons rate, and so that's precisely what I did. But I think even for money, this idea is wrong. When the opponent has a blitzing position, you don't want to be vulnerable on both ends. I just.
So, and what makes this a blitzing position? The 2-point or the 9th checker?
And 9 checkers, and I mean, I make it a blitzing position. So if I stay on the 20, my move makes it a blitzing position, or plays into my opponent's hands. I mean, of course, if I jump out, it's still sort of dangerous for me, and black will attack. But of course, black really would like to attack on the 4-point. And I mean, it's not a super blitz position, because if it was a super blitz position, then the cube action would be a double pass no matter what I do. So, which would have been better for my PR if it had been a super blitz position, because then I couldn't have made a mistake. But I mean, the deuce point combined with the checkers, 1 extra checker in the zone, makes this sort of blitzy. It's certainly not primey, and Okay. Yeah, I should have seen that.
So I will just quickly check it for money. I think it's getting, as you already mentioned.
The mistake should be smaller, but I doubt that my play doesn't even. I see the percentages. Yeah, it should be okay.
Almost half.
It as predicted. I mean, at that score, my idea is especially bad.
Okay, I think we are done with the positions. So that means the last chance for the viewers to to have sent us some questions. We still have 26 viewers, so if there is someone. Otherwise, I think we are close to wrapping it up. So maybe Dirk, you want to say some final words?
I'm not so good in speeches. No, thanks everybody for watching. I really enjoyed it. Maybe it was also like some psychotherapy for me to talk about being on your couch, Rainer, so to speak, on your virtual couch. No, but I'm fine. I'm really I was at some point really frustrated, and that not being able to talk about was difficult. But now I'm totally normal, totally fine with it.
And we will see you more often in upcoming streams, I think.
Yeah, I hope so. There's something coming up.
There's coming up something on the 19th, which is Sunday in a week. And where we have some special stream. Zenix Ziska is playing against a huge team, huge in terms of quantity at least. So he will play against 8 players, and we have some.
What's the time setting?
No, we will make it in a different way. So we have 8 players in the team. 2 will be responsible for the cube action. So they will shout, stop, we want to double or take pass. And the other 6 players, each is responsible for one number. So we have one team member who is on roll if 1 is rolled, another one for the 2, and so on. So if we have a 6-1 to play, the 6 guy and the 1 guy are for this role
that's cool.
A consultation double team.
Good Christmas.
Yeah. And the thing is that Zenek said if I play against such a huge crowd, I need some jokers. And we offered him several jet joker or 50-50 or whatever. But Dirk, Zenek said, I only want Dirk as my joker. So Zenek will have Dirk as a joker 3 times where he can ask him. That will be. So there will be a lot of fun going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we will also see Dirk as a commentator for the upcoming, team online championships, where Germany is still in.
I hope so. I hope so. I'll find time, but I think certainly I will do now more commentating again and all the stuff that I couldn't do because of other more important stuff for me.
Okay, there's one more question. How long does it take to get your book? So the book is already out, Dajing. It depends on where you are living or where you want to get your book sent to.
I can only answer from my end. So what I try to do, and I did it successfully for the last days, when the payment is in, the latest on the next day, the book is in the mail, and then all is up to UPS and DHL. So that's out of my control. But at least from my side, it's very quickly that I will send the book. Just heard that there are so many delays now, Christmas time, and shortage of workers, and I don't know what, but yeah, I cannot do anything about it.
So mine came on last Saturday.
Yeah, yours I sent on Thursday. So yeah, within Germany it's no problem. But even if you get as far as Austria, it takes like a week right now because of COVID. And so, but from my end, it'll be in the mail on the next day. I promise that.
Okay. Then I think we will wrap it up, Dirk. Thank you very much that you took your time.
No, thank you, Rainer. It was, as always, very nice. Enjoyed it.
Very good. Then see you next time. And I will just say goodbye to the viewers. And I will say goodbye to you, Dirk. Thanks again. Wish you a nice evening.
Thank you. And Thanks everybody for watching.
Okay. Bye-bye, Dirk.
Bye-bye.
So that's it for today, guys and girls. I hope you enjoyed this interview and the positions from the UBC final we selected for you. And yeah, I wish you a nice evening and see you in the next stream. So at latest on Sunday next week with this huge challenge, this guy against the rest of the world, or at least against the rest of the stream. And if you want to do me a favor and you have not done so already, please subscribe, because it would be very cool if we could reach 1,000 subscribers, because we get a lot of more features and possibilities then. That would really help me if you could do that. Cost you nothing, just click on the subscribe button. So thanks again, and thanks also to everybody who was here in the stream, and especially in the chat, and all these questions. So this was really nice and fun. So see you next time. I love you all. Bye bye.